Hey everyone! So I'm here with Ryan from Polygon,
Hello.
and we had a really he had a cool idea and approached me. So it's on the internet, a lot of like what the creator footage that has been shown is a lot of just like PvP, high octane clips and stuff, and that's kind of due to the restrictions that Bungie allowed us to, or like put on us when they allowed us to show footage. And I don't think that's necessarily representative of like a game of Marathon or a run of Marathon as a whole. And so Ryan had a really cool idea to go through one of his entire games and kind of break down what a normal run of Marathon looks like. Anything to add to that?
Yeah, so this is my first match as Void. This is on day 2 of the game, so I've played quite a bit of it in the afternoon. At this point, probably like 5 or 6 hours. And yeah, basically this is minimal, or like there's no cuts with an asterisk of I did have to cut out about 3 minutes of footage just to meet restrictions. So there'll be a few cuts here and there, just that are just looting stuff. They're not super important. They're not removing any of the actual context of what it looks like to play just a full match, which people seem to want to be able to see something of what it looks like from the beginning to however this match may turn out in the end.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and hit play. What was your objective going into this game?
I mean, we were in this weird position at the event where we didn't have access to a lot of the priority contracts because they were for
And
like
priority
perimeter.
contracts are kind of like the story contracts, the ones that actually like drive the narrative throughout Marathon.
Right. So we didn't really have access to those. So I have this exfil shield charges thing I'm hoping to get done, and really we're just like trying out all of the different heroes. And my team was pretty aggressive for a lot of it. I have battle royale experience, but no extraction shooter experience. But I'm here with like biopsy report here next to me on glitch is Travis from IGN, and then Tocom on Blackbird is Kevin Yanis, who is very good at marathon.
Yeah,
He's
the
a
Marathon cheat code, man.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, everyone would come up and tell me about how good Kevin was, and I think they were underestimating him
You just
most
found a
of the time.
blue implant on a bot? What?
Yeah. So we walk in here and there's a bunch of different bots, just like all over this. This is a quarantine, I believe. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
at the top of the screen there. Yeah, in our experience, I don't know how your experience is with this. The loot on bots seems to range pretty wildly. They seem like
Yeah.
have a really wide loot pool, and that it can range from garbage tier loot to some pretty good stuff, and you never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah,
But
I found
checking in takes
keys
time.
on them before. So,
Yeah,
like, the key rooms, for anyone watching that doesn't know, they offer pretty much the best loot in the entire game. You find keys from different sources. It tells you to go to a specific place on a specific map, and then it has, like, the highest rates for, like, golds in the entire game and stuff. So,
yeah,
the bots have pretty good loot, for sure.
yeah. So that I just pulled a barrel for I think for my Burt, but I already have a better one on it. But like I found that mods were pretty rare in Dire Marsh of any kind. Like
Hmm.
as you can see, so I use the twin tap for most of my time on day 2,
Yeah.
which is the kind of 2 burst pulse rifle I have here.
And kind of
And
a little tip for that: weapon parts and mods drop more regularly from the drop ship that drops the four
yeah,
chests. So there are ways to kind of target farm stuff like that, which is kind of
yeah,
cool.
that's kind of what I was. So yeah, I was when I was talking to Kevin about it because I spent most of my time looking for. So we see some people going in here, but I spent most of my time looking for a scope for my twin tap because it's a medium to long range pulse rifle. Um, this is where I discovered that you don't auto latch to ladders. And basically, what Kevin says, I'll get back to it in a minute here as we go into combat. This is combat against the people who are sitting right next to me, which is an awkward sensation that I don't hope to emulate once the game's actually out.
You didn't like yell at him? Yo.
No, I didn't. I watched them go down as it was happening, and I didn't love sifting through the person next to me's loot as they were looking over at my monitor. Like, hey man, you got anything good? That was awkward. But thankfully not
Oh,
something that I will spend a bunch of time doing. Yeah, okay, so this is a vintage item. I don't know if you've talked about this in any of your stuff, but
I
this
have
this stuff is
not.
fascinating. So the way that vintage was explained to me, and quick cut there just to skip past stuff. Sorry about that. But the way that vintage stuff was explained to me is basically anytime you extract with a vintage item, it goes up in value.
Hmm. I think it caps
And
at like 5 or something, like
yeah,
5 times. But
yeah,
they,
that's what Kevin was saying.
yeah, if you're low on credits, it's a really, if you just bring an extra gun or shield that's vintage with you, it's a great way to just get like free credits, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so like if you have a sidearm, it's like a perfect opportunity to bring that in and then extract with it if you're really only using something like the twin tap, and you can really escalate very quickly. Like those things were very valuable. Like I had a lot of value in my vault.
Uh,
Um,
this sort of thing, sorry, before we get back,
no,
this is like a really good example of what I was trying to set up at the beginning of the video for everyone. Like all of our clips are just PvP, 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 but you know, an average match is 25 minutes long, and I would say like 15 to 20 minutes of that is general looting, doing contracts, killing like bots and stuff. Like there is so much non-PvP time in this game that we
100%.
can't really like emulate through what we've been able to show so far. So that's why I thought this was such a cool idea, Ryan. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think that's super important. Like we played aggressive, and we still only get into a handful of scrapes in this match, and end up doing a lot of other PvE stuff. Like I've already finished my shield charges contract here. So when I exfil, as long as I exfil with more shield charges than I came into the match with, I will get bonus XP for Nucloric, which is the contract I have. And right now, one of my teammates hit off our profit opportunity, which is the whole reason that we're here to begin with, where this thing pings and it says find a panel that says 006, as you can see in the top right corner. I found the panel, it says 006. I hit it. Now we have 2 minutes to get from field maintenance to quarantine, and it's going to drop off, basically tricking a UESC ship to drop a cargo there. So we have to get there in time, shoot the cargo off the ship, and you can get a lot of cool stuff from it.
I didn't even know that
Kevin,
was timed.
yeah,
That's
so we
good
only
to
have 2
know.
minutes to
Yeah.
get there, and the ship will leave if you don't get there quickly enough, or someone else can shoot it down. Like we found someone else's profit opportunities not infrequently.
Huh.
So well, Kevin referred to that and as like the ship coming down that you were talking about, like things to find, scopes and mods and barrels, like all those things, higher tier loot than is typical to find in Dire Marsh, are what he called like high friction activities, which are things that basically you go out and it is going to alert other players. So doing the profit opportunity, everyone can see when you enter an area if there's a profit opportunity there. Like the team that we cleared before would have walked in that area, saw that our terminals were active, and they knew that some team was going to come there at some point looking for their profit opportunity.
Right.
Um, so that it creates friction in that way. Or you have to go and you have to spend, what is essentially kind of a currency in this game of like your stealth to shoot down a box, so you can get the loot from it. So you alert players there. Or there's other things that we'll see later where you're trying to open a box and it shoots off flares, or like the incursion event, which I don't know if you've shown those, which is like the giant square hovering
I
over an area.
haven't actually. Yeah. Do you do one in this
So
game?
I don't do one in this game. We
Okay.
tried one and it didn't work properly. It bugged because it's an
Yeah.
alpha environment. This is all
Alpha.
subject
Yeah.
to change. And then we did another one and it worked perfectly. And the loot you get from it is amazing, but it's basically this giant square ship with this huge blue beam and sends out a bunch of UESC after you, so it takes time to finish and also is very dangerous to do so.
Yeah.
But those are the things you can get really good loot that is higher tier, higher likelihood than you're going to find just running around the map,
Yeah.
which I found really interesting.
See, I like this footage, like what you're doing right now, because it's like, you know, everything's kind of quiet, but you're still like making progress. So like you're doing these objectives, which will give you a ton of reputation, which we'll go over here in a second. And if like the people watching look, every time you get like an ad kill or you loot a container, there will be an XP and then a faction XP right next to it. So
Yes.
just by doing like normal stuff in the game, you are making active progress towards factions and upgrades on your character and stuff like that, which is really cool. That container had a red box, and if you exfil it, it gives you a bunch of faction rep, or do you get loot for that?
So that thing I think is the faction rep one, the
Yeah.
red one. But there's also a purple one that you can get as well.
Okay.
Something I haven't seen a lot of people talk about that I think is really cool is that if any of your teammates, so there's like the boxes that kind of look like that when they're kind of grayed out. I don't know if the art is final on it or not. They look a little like, but also it's hard to tell with Marathon and the art style that they do with it, whether something is like looks corporate and sleek, or whether the art's not totally finished for it yet. Which I actually quite like that.
Yes.
But anytime you get like a purple valuable that is specifically just meant to sell, and someone on your team exfils with it, everyone on your squad gets a copy of it when you get back to your vault. So there's never a situation where you're like, oh, I'm really dire for credits. Can I please exfil with this 500 credit box so that I can buy like a backpack when I get back
Yeah.
to my base? As
And
long as anyone gets it. Yeah.
the higher level upgrades also require the purple mats. So it's like it's kind of like Destiny, where most mats have like a green, a blue, and a purple version. They're named differently, but they're like pretty obviously part of the same like material family. And as you get higher and higher in the upgrades, as you level up your factions, they require more rare and more rare materials, as well as buying stuff in the black market requires credits and materials of various rarity depending on what you were trying to buy as well. So the fact that you can share purples, which are the rarest, with everyone on your crew, that's really good as you approach kind of the late part of the game, or like more the end game. That's a really cool thing that they did there. So
it just cuts down on griefing in a game that they seem to put a lot of thought into. How can I make this so you are less likely to hate your teammates? I mean,
yeah,
you can definitely be in a situation where like you are not working together with your teammates, which is really difficult, especially when you have loot on the line if you're dealing with randoms. But like teammates can't shoot you. You can't deal damage to someone. You can't even steal someone on your team's loot, because if you extract with something that your ally loaded into the match with, it goes back to them, because it's been tagged as like their thing, as long as they come into the match with it.
so that's a
Which ended up
flare
being,
room. But
yes,
also, before we talk about that, I do want to mention there's USEC ships that are flying into your right, which means there's likely an enemy team over there as
yeah.
well.
Speaking a little soon.
Oh, sorry.
Just we get a no, not at all. We get a jump scare
Oh,
here as I
right
scan
there.
off, and immediately there's this void that walks by. Jump down here as I think, yeah, Travis shoots at me.
Oh, classic Travis.
I know. But yeah, so we clear out that runner who climbed over the thing. Take on this dude with
And
body
see,
shots.
you're getting Traxxas rep every time you get a kill here, which is really cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So
Is that because of the location, or is that because just Traxxas is the...
Traxxas is like the kills. I believe New Cloric is like looting, and that sort of. Yeah, every faction has like a specific thing they like you to do. So
Okay. So we've cleared out 2 of these people, but one of them has gotten res somehow, and Kevin over here is downed. Come up. Look, I mean, their body shots. Look, I'm not
you killed him. That's what matters.
I know I killed him, but I'm not you. I want your audience to realize, like, I wasn't part of the trailer squad. Okay, we did good, but
just blame it. I always blame it on the monitor size was different than what I'm used to, so my DPI didn't translate exactly.
Yeah, I didn't adjust my DPI as much as I wanted to, but like we get stuff done. We did okay.
There you go.
So yeah, so used Void's ultimate here to cover, not ultimate. What is it? I don't know. It's an ultimate.
Prime ability.
Prime, thank you. I used my ultimate to
the super
smoke off. Yeah, to smoke off Kevin's body so I could pick it up.
There's
Void can be invisible in smoke. Yeah, I caught that in the distance. So we like suddenly have a lot of different options around us. We have this like smoke room area. We have all of these like runner bodies that have happened here.
Oh, a commander too. Jeez.
Crate. Yeah, there's a commander. It was all.
Oh, the high value target. Oh my goodness.
A lot of things are happening in this area. We also were kind of jump scared a little bit by. So if you look at the what we kind of lived by was, if you look at the boxes on the ground, they have that what the dev team refers to as the little gentleman, which is incredible, and I will be saying for my entire time with the game. But that little green guy is basically an indicator that the people who own that box are still in the lobby. So in this case, as I'm looking at it now, I'm realizing that they are like spectating us, and that will go away eventually when they leave the match. But as long as they're in the match spectating you, they're still there.
That would be going through my mind that that was 2 teams, and they still have teammates up.
That's kind of what we used as like, we would keep an eye on those boxes, because as soon as a team would leave fully, they would disappear, and you would know that, okay, that squad is no longer in the game. They're no longer something you can be concerned with. Something that I think
That was good loot.
Really...
Every time I killed one of those drones, it was trash loot, and you just got like 4 good things from it. What was that?
I don't know. It's the big. Maybe it's because you played 60 hours of it, and
Yeah, it's because you had Kevin on your team. They're stacking
yeah,
the dev
100%.
loot, dude.
Yep, absolutely. I did end up with a golden backpack by the end of my time. Well, I didn't end up with it, I should say. It was taken in my last match by tens in the Valorant squad. So they earned it. It was a fierce fight.
Oh, so this was 2 squads.
Yeah, that's what I'm realizing as well. I think one person got away, which I think actually is what we're talking about right now, which is why Kevin's scanning. And you see that exfil beacon in the distance, which is what we're about to go handle. So this is a guarded exfil. So this person escaped, decided they didn't want to mess with us, and went off in it. Went off to this exfil zone. But we have this anomaly in front of us, which is what they called it there. Which is like this wall of like gelatin almost, like glass jelly that you can see to the left here, that you can't pass through. It's, I mean,
almost certainly a narrative thing that I have no idea what it is. Probably ties into some of the weird stuff we saw in the short film, I imagine. For everyone watching, when you see that blue light, you have a minimum of 55 seconds before they exfil, and I think it goes up to like 100 or a minute 35 on the far end. So that's kind of your window to get there and try to grief them. That was them exfilling, so they didn't actually, unfortunately, they weren't able to grief those people. But if you're worried about, you know, how high pressure the exfil is, if you're more than like a POI away, they're probably not going to be able to come and like kill you last second. So
we had some times where we chased someone down and we ran like two POIs to do it, but not when there was this giant anomaly in the way, which I imagine is something that over time will probably change as the map evolves. Like
100%.
That's the final cut of the video. Basically, we just got to this area where that dropship comes down that has that kind of like high friction loot on it. That thing drops its chests in the slowest animation possible. It takes like 50 seconds for them all to drop, but they have incredible stuff.
And when you activate it, it makes a noise that the entire map can hear. And there's only like, depending on the map, there's only like 3 or 4 places that it can be. So people know like generally where you are when you activate it too. Yeah.
Well, and you get like, if you approach it too quickly, the jets will burn you on it. So, like, basically there was nothing in there, so that's why I skipped past it. This is the high value target thing. So this barrier you can only get into if you have that gold bar above my shields. I got in here late to do much help, but basically without that gold bar, which is what they called like a firewall, I couldn't get in there without getting burned by acid basically the whole time. When you kill the HVT, they bring down reinforcements as well, but I was able to get the box off fast enough that the reinforcements don't spawn.
Oh, nice. And that gold bar is for mechanics kits, right?
Yes, the mechanical kit gives you the firewall. And then when you shoot off the flares, it obviously alerts everybody in the area that you're looting this thing. And also takes like 45 seconds to do it, but it removes the bubble as well. So anyone in the surrounding area can come and shoot at you, which is kind of the name, like really how Bungie does a good job of getting people into scrapes pretty frequently. But also means that like if you want to avoid scrapes, you can do it relatively easily because people are always going to be looking for these big loud things happening. So if you just see one of those things and run in the other direction, you are much less likely to run into somebody. Like it seemed to me, and maybe you had a similar experience, like when someone shoots off one of those ships, a lot of the really geared players start running towards that.
100%.
That you have a really good opportunity to go to a POI on the complete other side of the map and potentially pick it over relatively scot-free for 4 or 5 minutes before anyone really is kind of moving back into that area. So there's a real like movement that comes with the map as events and things kind of start to transpire there.
What was that symbol on the map that you hovered over for a second? I didn't recognize that.
I'm not 100% sure. Feel free to go back if you'd like.
This one here.
I don't know. Is it on the key on the right?
No,
I don't
it's not.
See it. Interesting.
I thought I knew what all those symbols meant, but
maybe that's is that a dropship? Maybe I don't see a dropship.
The dropship is here. Maybe it's just. Oh well, I don't know. Maybe it could be. Maybe interesting.
Yeah. You never know.
Still figuring stuff out.
Oh, for sure. Like I felt like I'm even just talking through this. Like there's so many things happening at once. Like to watch it or to like even watch back. I've watched these clips a lot of times, and it kind of can feel like, man, this game really ebbs and flows in terms of like slow times, heavy times, time to catch your breath, time to just loot around, like you were talking about. But
Yeah.
when you get down to like, there's a lot happening all the time. Like we always have a goal in mind. We're always looking to do something. We're not really meandering at any
Oh, these
time that
guys
I'm
suck.
finding.
They're
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 awful.
yeah.
You are invisible in this game when you're invisible. Like it's
Yeah.
not a joke. Um, it's not Destiny where if someone's invisible in PvP and you have eyes, you can see them. They're straight up like you can be invisible at a box and you would have no idea that that person was there.
Yeah.
Um,
So you only have
it's
3 minutes. Are you going to exfil here? Oh, yes, you are. Okay.
yes, yeah. So we're pretty sure. Probably my favorite thing about the game, and I think you've talked about this in one of the things I've watched that you've done, is that because you have no idea how many people are left in the map, there's never a moment where you have no tension. Like we had last minute exfils often. So if it goes past the 3 minutes, basically one exfil location will be marked on the map, and you can run after it. And you cannot activate it anytime when you get there. It will exfil at the end of the 3 minutes, and that's the last one you can get on. And everyone has to get on that train to go. And every time we did it, Kevin was over there doing like math in his head about how many different teams we'd encountered, try to figure out how many squads there were and how likely it was that we would run into someone at that final exfil. But like in this moment, we're pretty sure that there's no one else here. We're pretty sure we're safe and alone, but we still like smoke the exfil zone to make sure we can get out safely. Like it creates this really fun tension because there is no like roster of win players are eliminated that you can really count on.
Yeah.
But that's that's a full match. It's pretty.
That was
standard.
cool. And there's so many things in that. Like, I mean, you went in with like a pretty easy contract. So generally, like those would, if you're doing priority or like the harder ones, they take you a little bit longer. There were like you didn't really do any, and the point of this being there's still so much variation. Like that is a normal run, but there's still so much else that you could have done on a different version of that run, right? Like you didn't do any material looting, no locked boxes, no locked like key rooms. But even still, you did like a ton of little like world events. You got an insane amount of loot. And I hope this is like a good example for people like, A, the game's not always just all PvP. And B, even if you lose everything, it's pretty easy to get decent gear again. I mean, you came across 3 or 4 different blue guns in this one run, plus multiple blue backpacks and cores and implants and stuff. So
yeah,
that was a pretty good representative run, I think, of like just, hey, this is really what marathon is.
Yeah. Well, and I think the interesting thing about it as well that that it's difficult to kind of wrap your head around is like backpack space is precious. And that's true even if you have a really big backpack. And the more we went on, the less I was interested in green weapons, or mods that I don't have space for. So like just because you come across something that has been picked over by someone who is like a high tier wolf with a ton of loot, who's in there to like try to mess people up and get as much stuff as they can, like that person, the blue gun that would be extremely valuable to you because you're poor might have gotten completely picked over, like left by them.
Yeah.
So like you can like pick up scraps if you're really desperate from people who are looting much more powerful items than you because they're not looking for the same kind of stuff you are, because that's kind of the flow of the economy. Like as I built my vault up, I would start leaving stuff behind that would have been very valuable to me 4 hours before that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, even
yeah.
in this game, you left a couple pretty high rarity guns in the high value target bubble thing. The drone, you didn't pick all of that up. Well, I don't know. You looted the AI a lot more than I did. I would generally just run past most of them. But there are, if you are kind of averse to confrontation on the PvP front, you can pretty easily like vulture in this game or rat around or whatever you want to call it. Like I've been trying to convey this, that like, yes, this is a PvP game and you are going to have to PvP at some point, but there are ways you can play to avoid PvP as much as possible. And it is definitely not the majority of the experience of Marathon, in my opinion. So,
right. And I mean, like something that you and I were talking about before we turned the recording on is like, as my experience as a PvP player in Destiny is a lapsed one. It was never like my favorite thing about the game, but I would jump in and play for like Recluse and Luna's Howl and Mountaintop, and I got decent at the Crucible in Destiny to get those things, but I would never call myself a Crucible player. But Marathon kind of tickles that itch where it's giving me like that adrenaline rush of getting cool stuff that I want to take with me, stuff that I want for my build, which makes me want to get better at engaging in PvP regularly, to get better at like making sure I'm hitting my shots, which is more important when you're against a runner than when you're against an AI, even though they will absolutely mess you up quickly. Like, it is incentivizing me to improve because of that loot incentive is there. So I think like there is a PvE focused group of people like myself who I think will actually really enjoy Marathon, if that kind of tickles your fancy. Like, I think Bungie is 100% right that if you have no interest in ever getting into a scrape with another player again, if you dread ever launching out the Crucible, it's probably not like your kind of bag. But if you're someone who's ever enjoyed it, like ever in the history of Destiny or in other PvP games, if you've ever enjoyed the rush of getting something useful from PvP, even if the PvP isn't the part that you loved the most, I think there is stuff there for Marathon, at least to the point where it's like worth checking out in alpha or beta. I think that's going to be huge for players, is just getting hands on how
100%. And especially, and I say this a lot, but like so much of this genre comes from the intensity of like knowing you might lose loot or your next big score is right around the corner, and that is very hard to convey through small clips of someone else's gameplay. Right, it is very much like, I highly encourage everyone to try to get in the alpha. I hope there's going to be like an open beta or something. I would, if you are at all interested, I would highly recommend like actually playing, because the experience is a lot different playing than watching, especially when you don't really know what you're watching. So
yeah, and there will 100% be people who don't like the game. I definitely went into the event thinking like, I typically enjoy Bungie gunplay, but I don't really think the game's going to be for me. But I am somebody who came out of it being very surprised at how excited I am to play more. But also, like, when people think about losing their loot and getting upset about it, your relationship with the loot in Marathon is not the same as your relationship with your loot in Destiny. You're not looking to put 1,000 hours on this twin tab and just like have it be with you all the time.
Yeah,
like your dad furnace that you've had, since 2018 or whatever it was. So like, if that's what you're trying to do, it's just not the same game. Your relationship is different. Everything is ephemeral, and you know that going into it.
Yeah,
and that's what makes getting cool stuff exciting, because it's not going to last. Even if you keep it throughout the entirety of the season, it's not going to last, because you're eventually going to lose it. And it's hard to ingrain in someone that is the game and that it is fun because of that. But it really is something I think it needs to be your loot before you can understand your relationship with it.
It is super different, because I feel like so much of this type of game, like, your reward is not the loot. It's first the experiences or the stories, as Bungie has been saying, but also the permanent progression you're making on your character through upgrades, the story that you get through factions and ranking them up. Eventually, some of the cosmetics you'll be able to get through those processes, and maybe, some of the other things I've been kind of teasing a little bit, that loot will help you do, but it is, the reward of some of those things isn't necessarily going to be loot. It'll be some of the more permanent things like cosmetics or experiences or upgrades to your character or trophies that they've talked about, like their kind of achievement for this game. So, the loot is a means to an end in this game. It is not the end like it is in a game like Destiny, which is, you kind of have to unprogram yourself a little bit, but it really isn't that hard to get like semi-geared again if you lose everything. Don't have the gear fear, as people were saying during our playtest. So.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, I have concerns about about Marathon. I do not think by any means after this trip that is on the one-way ticket to success to be the next big thing. But I heard from multiple people over the course of the event that I talked to who had a very similar journey that I did, which is like, is this game going to be fun? Is it going to be good? And the answer to that question is like unequivocally yes for me. Whether or not it's successful is a whole other can of worms that has more to do with the environment that it's being released in than the game itself or even Bungie itself. So
Yeah.
like the game is fun, and I would encourage people to try it out for themselves to see if it's fun, especially if they're on the fence and don't think it's for them, because I didn't think it would be for me. And I'm very excited for the alpha coming up here in a couple days from when we're recording this, and for the eventual release in September.
100%. All right, well, this was a great idea. Thanks for including me on it. I think people are really going to love this, the kind of front to back nature of it, and it was a lot of fun. So thank you very much.
Of course, thank you, man.